All right, so you're trying to decide between two of Canon's most talked about cameras right now, the R7 and the R8. And here's the thing, they're around the same price, but they are worlds apart. The real question isn't which one's better, it's which one is the right camera for you. Let's figure that out. You know, when you're shopping for a camera online, you just get hit with this wall of numbers, right? Megapixels, frame rates, ISOs. A spec sheet is really good at telling you what a camera has inside of it. But here's the problem. That same spec sheet does a terrible job of telling you who that camera is actually built for. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to get past all those numbers and match the right camera to the right person. Because this is more than just a simple comparison. It's really a tale of two cameras that were built with two totally different ideas in mind. Choosing one is all about picking the philosophy that matches how you shoot. Okay, so let's start by digging into those two very different paths Canon decided to take. We're going beyond the numbers to really get at the core philosophy of what makes each of these cameras tick. In one corner, you've got the R8. I like to call it the full-frame minimalist. Its whole reason for existing is to give you that beautiful, creamy full-frame image quality, and not much else. And in the other corner, you have the R7, the APS-C workhorse, a camera that is just packed to the gills with pro-level features built for reliability. And really, the biggest philosophical difference between these two, it all starts with the sensor. It's literally the heart of the camera, and its size changes absolutely everything about how the camera sees the world. So here's the main difference in a nutshell. The R8 has a big, full-frame sensor. It's physically larger, so it's a beast when it comes to gathering light. The R7 uses a smaller APS-C sensor, but it has this incredible trick up its sleeve, a 1.6x crop factor that gives every single lens you own a ton more reach. Now, to put that into perspective, check this out. 253%. That's how much larger each individual pixel is on the R8 sensor. We're not talking about a small difference here. It means the R8 just vacuums up light, which gives you cleaner, better-looking images in really dark places, like a wedding reception or a dimly lit concert. But here's where the R7 fights back. That 1.6x crop factor, it's like getting a free teleconverter with every lens. You take your 200mm lens and boom, it suddenly performs like a 320mm lens. For anyone shooting wildlife or sports, this is an absolute game changer. It gives you reach that would normally cost you thousands of dollars. Okay, so we've talked about the sensor, but now let's get into the three big features, or in some cases, the lack of features that are the true deal breakers. Honestly, for most of you, your decision between the R7 and R8 is going to be made right here. And first up is the big one, the great stabilization divide. This is probably the #1 most debated thing when you compare these two cameras, and for a really good reason. The Canon R7 has what's called in-body image stabilization, or IBIS. It gives you up to 7 stops of it, which is incredible. It means the sensor inside the camera physically moves to cancel out your handshake. So you can shoot handheld at ridiculously slow shutter speeds and still get a perfectly sharp photo. It's almost like having a tripod built right into the camera body. Now, the R8, on the other hand, it has no IBS. Zero. Nada. And this was a very deliberate choice by Canon to keep the camera smaller and cheaper. So to get a sharp shot, you're now completely dependent on your lenses having stabilization, or you've got to crank up your shutter speed, which means a higher ISO, or you just have to be really disciplined and use a tripod. It forces you to shoot in a completely different way. Next up, battery life. And believe me, this isn't just a minor detail. This one stat can define your entire workflow for a day. The R7 gets you a very respectable 660 shots on a single charge. The R8, just 290. If you're shooting an all-day event, that's the difference between maybe bringing one spare battery and needing to carry 4 or 5. And finally, card slots. The R7 has 2 slots, which is the professional standard. It's all about peace of mind. It lets you make an instant backup of photos you can never get back. The R8, well, it only has 1. For just walking around and shooting for fun, that's probably fine. But if you're shooting a once-in-a-lifetime event like a wedding, you're always running that risk that a single card failure could wipe out your entire day's work. Okay, so we've covered the core philosophies and the big deal breakers. Now let's put it all together. Let's see how these cameras actually stack up when you're out there in the real world taking pictures. This is where the specs meet reality. Okay, for wildlife and nature photographers, this isn't even a fair fight. The R7 is the hands-down clear winner. That 1.6x crop for extra reach, the IBIS to keep those super long lens shots steady, and a battery that'll actually last all day out in the field. I mean, this camera was practically purpose-built for this kind of shooting. Now, for weddings and events, this is where it gets tricky. On paper, the R8's full-frame sensor should be amazing in those dark reception halls. But, and this is a huge but, that awful battery life and the single card slot are just massive risks for a professional. You're trading incredible low-light quality for some serious operational headaches. But when it comes to travel photography, the script completely flips. Here, size and weight are everything. The R8 is noticeably lighter and smaller, which makes it a much better companion to just toss in a bag and explore with all day. That full-frame quality is a huge bonus for your landscapes and portraits. Just make sure you have a few extra batteries and a plan to charge them every night. So, after all of that, how do you actually choose your perfect match? Well, it really comes down to being honest about what you actually shoot. The best camera for you isn't the one that looks best on paper, it's the one that solves your real-world creative problems. So let's make this simple. You should choose the Canon R8 if that full-frame image quality is your #1 priority, period. If you shoot a lot in low light, if you need the smallest and lightest kit for travel, and if you're okay working around its limitations like bad battery life and no IBIS, then it's a fantastic and affordable way to get into the full-frame world. On the other hand, you should choose the Canon R7 if you need a reliable, do-it-all workhorse. If you value professional features like great battery life and dual card slots for security. If you really depend on that in-body stabilization for sharp photos. And if you shoot things like wildlife or sports where reach is king, then the R7 is, without a doubt, the more complete camera. And that really brings us to the main point. There is no better camera here. These are two different tools designed for two very different photographers. The only wrong choice you can make is to buy a camera based on a list of numbers, without first asking yourself, what problems do I need my camera to solve? Figure that out, and your choice becomes crystal clear.